What's going on, everybody? And welcome to DAC Decks. My name's Coda, and this channel is for the people who love Pokemon, collecting, the nostalgia, grading, the market itself, and just the journey of building something real in this hobby. I wanted to make this first video as a real introduction, not just say, hey, but tell you who I am, why I'm starting this channel, and why I'm coming back to Pokemon has meant so much to me. Because honestly, it's not just about the cards. This is about coming back to something I loved as a kid and realizing it means something to me now, maybe even more than it did back then. When I was around 9 years old, I remember getting one of my first packs. I believe it was from a Dollar General. I pulled out a Blaine's Charmander back then and a Blaine's Charmeleon. And ever since then, I've always had a soft spot for Blaine, for Fire Pokemon, and really just that whole feeling for those older cards gave me back then. Pokemon was simple then. You'd open a pack, hope you pull something cool, and if you did, it made your whole day. It wasn't about grading back then. It wasn't about the population reports or tracking the market. It was just fun. It was the artwork, the characters, the excitement, and that feeling of holding on to a card because you loved it. Not want to trade it at school or nothing. And like a lot of people, as I got older, life happened, and I didn't stop liking Pokemon. I just kind of drifted away from it per se. And years went by, a lot of years actually, about like 10, 15. Then one day I was walking through a Walmart and noticed some people standing in line waiting on cards in Walmart. So that caught me a bit off guard because when I was younger, Pokemon cards were just there. You didn't really have to think about beating these other people or scalpers or nothing to get some or stores selling out because they were just on the shelves at any time. So when I asked what was going on with those guys, and that little moment sparked something for me because it made me say like, oh, I can't just buy these no more. So I ended up buying the only pack that was left. It was a Journey Together box booster bundle. And when I looked at the cards, I was just blown away. I pulled the fairy out of it, first pack. The artwork's just completely different from what I remember from the early 2000s, late 19s. The cards felt more alive. There's more detail, way more color, and just to me, more collectibles too. Like there's a broader range of what you're looking for between like food Pokemon or sleeping Pokemon or just trainers now. And, there are all these new rarities and styles, stuff I didn't grow up with. These illustration rares, special illustration rares, hyper rares. And it felt like the hobby grown up in a way I never expected without me. So I still felt like Pokemon, but in a brand new way. And that was really the moment that pulled me back in. Not just because it reminded me of being a kid again, but because I realized that the hobby had become something bigger than I remember without. Now there was the art side, there's a collector side, grading side, the buying and selling, being a vendor, and a strategy side. There was just so much more in depth to it now than there was back then. And coming back as an adult, that's what really hooked me. Of course, the nostalgia is a huge part of it. But now I appreciate things I never paid attention to when I was younger. I appreciate the artwork, the person that drew on the cards, and I appreciate the condition more too. Back then I didn't really care. I just grabbed the card I wanted to trade for whatever. It didn't matter as long as I beat the dude I was playing. So appreciate how much thought can go into deciding whether a card is worth grading now to or holding or selling or just chasing it in the first place. Like, is it worth to spend $1,000 on this card that you like so much? As a millennial now, it definitely lets you got a little bit of extra money. So you're just like, oh, do I want this card? Do I need to save for it? Or do I want to maybe trade a bunch of stuff I have to get this one card? And that's going to be some of the stuff that we're going to go over here, but I can help you make those wise decisions personally because I like the challenge. I like making those smart pickups. And I like the idea of building the collection to actually mean something to you. That's a huge part of what this channel is going to be about. With DAC Decks, I want to share the whole journey, not just the highlights, not just the wins, those mistakes too, the learning, the pickups, how to make those grading decisions, and the cards that I'm watching, the cards I'm buying. I try to find a few cards like every Friday night so that on weekend or something, whenever I go to a trade show, I'm looking for these cards to buy to maybe decide if I want to grade or to add to the binder. Because, maybe the markets went up or down and I can help all of us kind of help make some decisions. And as we go along, I'll look back on the older videos. And if there's something you want me to talk about, I'll definitely put that in the next video. And it'll be a place where I can talk about those cards honestly, a place where I can share what I'm hearing in real time, what I'm learning in real time as I have came back now. Got a complete computer set up for it just because I really enjoy it. And some stuff I've learned after I've started talking to people is that there's a lot of stuff they don't know that I would have just assumed is common sense. I want this place to be a place where other collectors, whether they're new, returning, experience, they can just follow along and maybe get some useful information out of me too. I'm not here to act like I know everything. I'm not here to fake hype every card either. I'm not here to make the hobby look easy than it really is, because it can be and it can't not be at the same time. I want this channel to just be one of them real channels. If I make a great pickup, we're going to talk about it. If I miss on something, cost me some money, we're going to talk about it too. If I send cards out for grading, we're going to talk about why and how I made that decision. If I think a card or a product is overhyped, I'm going to call it out, because there's some cards that are just Logan Pauled, they're bigger than they should. I think something has real potential. I'm going to call those out. My Fridays, I'm going to try to make a channel a week about a certain card. I try to do five is what I usually look for. I look at the five biggest market gap, and I'm going to call those out and tell y'all, maybe we should try to buy those. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. Not always going to say I'm making the right decision or not, but long story short, I just want to make DAC Decks a community and a place where we can feel honest, we can have some fun, and it's a channel worth coming back to. Because for me, this is not just about collecting for the sake of collecting. This is also about build long term. I want this to become a real Pokemon business. I want to grow into selling. I want to become a vendor by the end of 2026 here. And I want to build an online presence that can be beneficial for you and me and everybody. And one day, I'd like to open a store probably that's centered around the community, like tournaments, stuff for collectors and kids and people who just genuinely love the hobby. A place where Pokemon feels exciting, welcoming, and fun, honest. And a place that blends the joy of collecting with something bigger than just, I got it done, like let's finish an Erica binder or a Blaine's binder or something like that. That's the dream. And I know I'm not there yet myself, but every big thing starts somewhere. And for me, this channel is that starting point. This is where it all began. So whether you've been in the hobby forever, whether you're just getting back into it like I am, or whether you're brand new and just love the world of Pokemon, I'd love for you to be a part of this channel, for us to be a part of this together. And this is DAC Dex, and around here we catch, collect, and release. So if that sounds like something you're into, stick around, subscribe, and be a part of the journey. I'm glad you're here. Let's see where this thing goes.